I may not get through it today. Let me just start there. Because there's so much in this passage that needs to be shared. Genesis 13. And this is one of those read-on messages, but before we read on, there's so much that I don't want you to miss. There's so much for us to glean and apply to our lives. And I want to have a little bit of fun because this is a serious message. It's a serious passage. There's some deep themes that are here. And it's the kind of things I was struggling with. I'm like, how do I say this in open form? How do I deliver this message to a single classroom of all ages? And the Lord told me, gave me some direction. And I want to start out by mentioning a time period that we don't know much about these days. A time period when there was a family in a village that was really good at one thing. We don't know much about that kind of social economic bond, but usually in a particular village, different families specialized in different things. You with me? Even in New York today, if you want a good Jewish rye, there is a bakery that specializes in Jewish rye. And no matter how many other bakeries bake Jewish rye, there's a specialist who has the best. And usually the best is a little bit more expensive. And that bakery that has the best is usually a family. Can we say family? Family business. See, there's something special and unique and God-given and strategically biblical about a family business. The concept of family business is so lost on us, I thought not to even preach it. I thought not even to go that way, because how many people would relatively grasp and glean the precept, let alone the concept of a family business?
Amen.
My dad was in pharmaceuticals. I am not. So I did not follow the business of what my father did. Now, he was in sales. Sales is in me. So that means I can do just about anything in that arena because I saw my father do it. See, there's something about precept and example. Help me say precept.
Precept.
Woo! Jesus. An example. If somebody is practicing something, I don't care what it is, but if they're practicing something in front of you daily, not only have you seen it done, but you can do it.
Amen.
Never having taken a class, never having given instruction, but because you've seen it every day. I don't care if it's good or bad. I've been in the presence of 5- and 6-year-old children that know how to roll joints. Not that they smoke,
Right.
but they know how to roll a joint because
Amen.
they've seen it done.
What is that?
Now, I don't know the formula for mixing cocaine. I don't. I've never seen it done. But I'm a rarity because there are people.
Amen.
Not that they do it, but they've seen it. Listen, I need you to stay with me because there is value of having a precept. To a precept maturing into a concept. A concept is an idea or a thought that is known to you because it was shown to you.
Yes.
There's some people I can talk to about holiness and they don't have a clue what I'm talking about. And it isn't because I'm a bad teacher. I think I'm a fairly good teacher. But some people are, certain subject matter is so foreign to them because they've never, listen, there's some people, if I began to speak Spanish, they might as well stare out the window. Because there's nothing that connects with them because they've never heard it before, it doesn't mean it has no value. So there's some people, if you begin to talk about righteousness or holiness, it doesn't have the value that you think it should because it has value to you. There's some people that the concepts are just lost because they've never seen it done. Not only do they not have a concept for holiness or righteousness, but they have a precept. If you've never ever seen anybody try to do right, then what concepts you have in your mind that have anchored themselves in your thought process is anything goes. As a matter of fact, as long as I can get away with it, that means it's all right. And a blessing is simply the thing that I didn't get caught for, that I did. You have no idea how many people think that the idea of a blessing is the thing that I was able to do without recourse.
Amen.
Nothing could be further from the truth. But that is simply how the definition was brought to them because that's what they've seen. That's what they heard. A man has a good night last night because not only did he meet the woman of his dreams, but there were two women at the bar, in the dark, in the corner. And he's bragging about his experience because the people that he's talking to haven't had the experience that he has. And they think that what is being shared is great and wonderful. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. I want to go into some teaching. I want to go into some scriptures that has so many points of light. So many points of teaching. So many points of illumination. So many points of eyebrows raised, mouth open, but the lesson is standing in front of you. Learn. Learn. Learn sometimes by any means necessary. In other words, something bad. Jesus. I'm trying not to be too overwhelmed, but this message is so far in me. I want to give it all to you. And I know I can't. I know we don't have that kind of time. I know I can't afford to drift too far to the left or right, although the left and right stuff is so good. Sometimes bad things can happen to you. Amen. But if you believe that all things work together,
yes,
then what's bad isn't really bad. I can call a bad thing good when it's working for me, not against me.
Right.
Huh?
Yes.
I remember my father once. I had to be 8 or 9 because he picked me up by one arm. And I was off the ground. And he picked me up by one arm so that I couldn't run. I had done something. I don't even, at this point, I'm so far away from the thought. I don't have retrograde amnesia. I just don't remember what it was that I did. Was it you? It could have been you.
I just felt your hand.
I mean, really, it could have been you. Pick me up by one arm or him.
That's funny.
We don't know yet.
Listen, I'm a prophet. I'm just, things are in me, and it's not all me, but I remember. And I forget a lot too, but what's significant is that I was being held by, whether in the body or not, I don't know, but he held me by one arm, and he had his belt, and he was spanking me. Pow!
It was you.
Pow! And my legs were kicking, and I think it was you.
That's hilarious.
Because what happened next?
That's
Can I tell you?
You think so? I was like,
I wasn't even going there.
Horrified, okay.
What happened next? Because of the kicking and the,
Oh, you peed on yourself.
no.
Oh, don't say that.
Stay with me. Stay with me. Don't read ahead, don't jump ahead, because we got to arrive at a certain place together. Because when we get to that place, I got to stop. I have to stop. And not because I'm done. I'm going to a place I know I'm not going to reach the destination today. This is my brother. And he was responding to the reprimand so intensely that all of the muscles in his body joined in unison in receiving the reprimand. Which means the job that some of his muscles had to do was lost because of the reprimand being received. Consequently, my brother lost control of his bowels while he was being spanked. And all over my dad's shoes and some of his clothing.
I'm scared I was gonna get bored.
I don't know what was done. I don't remember what he did, but he was being spanked.
I know.
No.
And he was spanked until whatever he was full of, he wasn't full of anymore.
It was that kind of thing.
He was empty.
I remember.
He was empty. Now, again, I don't remember what was done, but I can tell you whatever it was, it didn't happen again. Now, looking at it, that seems really bad.
It does.
Yeah.
It seems really bad.
It does.
But did it work out for your good?
Didn't work here. Up until now, I kind of blacked it out.
Wow.
I can remember a great number of things that were bad that actually happened to me. That felt like it happened to me. That was so.
It traumatized you. You thought it was you.
But if it were not for some of those things that I remember, I wouldn't be on the track or the trail or the path or with the trajectory that I have now. Some things will literally change your life, bad or good.
Amen.
And sometimes when the thing feels bad, it's keeping you from a bad place that's worse.
Amen.
In other words, the bad that you think that happened has no measure to the bad that would happen or that could happen had you not negatively been reinforced to go another way. And you would not have gone another way had it not been for that thing which you perceived to be bad. Somebody say amen. A bad relationship. So bad, you're not married to the person, you just dating them and you can't wait to get rid, you didn't know at the time, but when you find out that the relationship went sour was bad, you can't wait to get rid of that person. Because the next person that you find, the next relationship, you will have little to no appreciation about little things that were not present in the previous relationship. Somebody say amen.
Amen.
So stuff happens in life. My daughter, a couple of years ago, I guess, or so, had a teacher that told class, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. Why? You learn from it. If it's bad, make it good. Learn from the mistake, correct the mistake. So the next time the test will come around. You will be tested again. The test will have a different name to protect the innocent. If it's not the ACT, it's the It's some kind of test that the same material, the same problem will be presented to you, and whether or not you recognize it or not will be determined by whether or not you learned the lesson that you might have failed previously.
Jesus.
Failure is not designed to be cyclical, or it is not meant to define future. Failure is designed to be academic so that you can learn from it. So you're not the failure. The test resulted in failure, but not perpetually. We'll go. Genesis chapter 38, we find, I gotta give you some backstory. There's a family business present that is not alluded to, it's not spoken of. Well, it is not spoken of, but it's alluded to. But you gotta know the backstory to really get it, because you can read it and miss it. If you're not historically acquainted with the characters and having studied the characters, you will completely miss the biggest story, the biggest lesson that's in this. Because there's so much salacious, there's such juicy material in this passage that, you'll walk away with everything salacious, you'll walk away with everything juicy, you'll walk away with the drama of it and not really see the message about why God left in Genesis, the Bible, the first book of the Bible, so much salacious, so much drama, so much stuff that goes on, so much reality television material is in this passage that you'll miss what God is teaching. Because you'll be impressed by the surface. Because the superficial stuff that goes on here, I'm going to get to it. No, don't go there just yet. Let me give you some background. Babe, let me give you some background. So, we all know who Abraham is?
Mm-hmm.
Babe.
Yes.
We know who Abraham is.
Amen.
Who's Abraham?
The father of faith.
Abraham is the father of our faith. He's claimed by some other folks he's the father of our faith. Huh? Why do we say that?
Because of his act of faithfulness.
What did Abraham do that was so significant?
He took his son up on a mountain. He was going
Before this.
He obeyed the Lord.
He obeyed, listen. Abraham obeyed the Lord. I mean, under every circumstance. He started out, he told Abraham, he says, I want you to get up. I want you to walk away from your family and your friends, and I want you to just start walking. Which direction? I want you to walk, and I'm going to show you direction as you go. Where am I going? I'm not going to give you a destination. Just walk. Just walk.
Right.
And Abraham believed God was real to the point where he didn't need direction. He didn't need destination. He didn't need coordinates. God told him to walk, so he walked. What you doing? Walking? Why are you walking? God said walk. Man, you know how stupid that is? You know how stupid that sounds? You just going to leave your family and your friends and you just going to walk? Yeah. Why? Because I believe God. I believe I heard from God. I got faith in God. God's going to tell me. And I just believe. See, real belief, real faith, as I said, comes from not just what you hear. Faith comes by hearing, but what you do about it. And the family of God, the business of the family of God is to obey. That's a precept. I could just preach that. But can I just lay that there and you all keep your legs warm while I continue? The business of the family of God is to obey. We don't build tables. That was Joseph's business. Joseph was in the family of God, but he was a carpenter. But that's not what we do. We are not carpenters. We are not builders or mechanics or plumbers. The family business that we were born into, the family business is to obey God. I can't say that enough. I can't say that enough time. I got to drive that home. Because if I don't drive that home, you're going to miss something big. And all the salacious and all the juicy and all the stuff I'm about to go into. I don't want that to be lost on you, that the family business is to obey God. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So in the book of Genesis chapter number 38. And it came, now y'all know that's my favorite. That's my favorite part of the verse in the entire Bible. Is when the Bible says, and it came to pass. I love that. I love it so much. I'm ready to roll on the floor right now. It came to pass that Judah. Now, we know who Abraham is, right?
Yes.
Abraham had a son?
Isaac.
Isaac. Isaac was Abraham's son. The family business was passed from Abraham
To Isaac.
to his son. So now it's Isaac's job. Isaac inherited a job, which was the family business. And it's his job to work the family business. Now, how much did that job pay?
Nothing. Well,
No?
not monetarily.
Come on. What does that job pay?
Faith.
No. Life.
Oh.
That job pays life. And like, how much life?
Everlasting.
Everlasting, eternal life. You will be alive as a result of this business if you work it. Now, if you don't come to the job, huh?
You don't get paid.
You don't get paid.
Oh.
If you don't work the work,
You don't get paid.
you don't get paid. But it's not like you don't have a job, because the job is the family's job. It's the family's business. And it was the legacy of Abraham to leave this job to Isaac. Isaac had a son, Jacob. The legacy of Abraham was left to Isaac. Isaac left it to Jacob. Jacob's got a job. What job? The family business. Now, they had cattle, but his job wasn't to be a cattleman. That was a hustle. That was a side job. They had sheep, but his job was not to be a sheep herder. Although they had sheep, he had one job, and his one job was to obey God. Jacob inherited that business, and in the course of obeying God, he ran into an angel. He says, wait a minute, you part of my job. You're part of my job because I obey God. You come from God, so our intersection doesn't mean we just wave and say hello. You have to bless me.
Bless me.
You got to understand. Now, the angel has a job. But the angel's job isn't the family business. Because angels are not sons.
Okay.
Okay. They're not sons like we are sons. They're not family like we are family. Because God is not their father. The angels are servants of God. We serve God, but we are sons of God. You follow me?
Amen.
God's a father to us. And we serve him because we obey him, but we don't obey him because he's our master. It's a different relationship because we are not a slave. We do what he says, but we do it out of relationship, not out of obligation. I do it because I love it and I love him, not because that's the family business. If I was born in captivity, if I was born a slave, I would be born indentured. And I would have to do whatever my master said. I do what God says because I have a relationship with him. I have a family. He's my father. He takes care of me, but as a son, I honor him. That doesn't mean that I always agree. Right, Ken? I don't always agree with my father. But I honor him and I respect him by doing what he says. Not knowing that one day I'm going to be a father and I'm going to tell my son something that he's not going to agree with. But if I do it because I've got the precept, if I do it because I'm portraying the example, then when I'm giving my son something, I'm not just giving him words. Because he's seen it done. If I roll joints, he would know how to roll joints. If I mixed up cocaine, he would know how to mix up cocaine. He would never have to do it, but he would know how to do it. If I obey God, he has a precept and he has an example. And if he never does it, he knows how. Because he's seen it done. He's seen some crazy stuff. I've seen my father do some crazy stuff. I've seen my father pick up a hitchhiker and drop him off, and the hitchhiker disappeared. Because I'm in the car. I can see these things going on. And I'm going, what in the what? But I've seen these things. So I now, because I've seen it, I've got a concept and a precept of what it looks like to entertain an angel, whether I know it or not. I know that it's possible because I've seen it done. I've drawn to the conclusion. After that experience, there's no reasonable explanation. Other than that, the Bible is right. Because the Bible says you don't know when you're going to entertain an angel. It's going to happen. Isaac saw this angel, he wrestled with him. He didn't best him, but he hit the angel on the hip, dislocated the angel's hip. And the angel said, okay, stop, this is getting ridiculous. I gotta heal now. I gotta be healed now. Because of you. You're fighting with me over a blessing. Listen, if it's a blessing, obtainable, fight over it. You hear me?
That's good.
If there's a blessing obtainable from God, scratch, bite, do what you gotta do to get God's blessing. Stay in the fight. If you can fight over something bad,
You certainly can fight for something good.
you can fight over something good. The angel told Jacob, your name is no longer Jacob.
Right.
Your name henceforth, after you hit me in my hip and dislocated it, now I'm walking with a limp. Your name, for who, I don't care who knows you as Jacob, they're calling you by the wrong name. You correct them and you tell them your name is Israel. And from here on out, anybody that know you, anybody that don't know you, they better call you Israel, because that's your name. And there's going to be a blessing. The blessing will not be attached to the name Jacob. However, there will be an everlasting blessing to anybody that's attached to the name Israel. I want you to hear me good. I want you to hear me good. Jacob couldn't bless himself, but because Jacob was blessed and his name was changed, anybody that was attached to Israel thrived in ways that they couldn't earn, all because Jacob wrestled with an angel. And he was blessed as a result of his effort, and his name, his identity was changed. And the children of Jacob were not blessed, but the children of Israel were. Are epic. There are not historic 12 tribes of Jacob, but there is historic reverence and appreciation for the 12 tribes of Israel. So much so that them 12 boys became nations in and of themselves, and kingdoms. Even when they had rivalry and they got divided, there was a northern kingdom which was family, and a southern kingdom which was family. The northern kingdom was the 11 boys. The southern kingdom was one boy. The northern kingdom retained the name Israel. The southern kingdom was called Judah. And all of them were Israel's sons. Now later, there was reconciliation, and the southern kingdom was rejoined to the northern kingdom, and they formed a country. And that country exists today.
Right.
The country of Israel is the joining together, the reconciliation of 12 sons, 12 kingdoms They didn't fight each other, but they disagreed on some stuff, so they went each other's way. When they got back together, they formed a country. The kingdoms joined together. And guess what? Russia, Iran joined against them to try to overtake and take the land away from Israel. Little small Israel, newly 1947, they started. They were recognized. Palestine, they all joined up. On three sides, they were surrounded by nations that had Marines, nations that had tanks, nations that had airplanes. And here's this one little nation up against, they were grossly outnumbered. They were grossly outmanned. They were grossly, it was inevitable that it was about to go down and they were about to lose. But I'm not talking about Jacob's children. I'm talking about Israel's children. And generations, help me say generations. Generations later, because they realized whose family they were, because they realized whose children they were, because they capitalized on the family business. The country, Israel, against innumerable odds, and against anything that had ever happened like that in history, won the war against all these other nations in 8 days. They didn't go for 8 years. 8 days. It's called the 8 Days War. This country, this little tiny little country, beat Russia and several other countries that had teamed up against them, and they all by themselves. They won that war. Not because they were so strategic, not because they were so vicious, not because they were so mechanically inclined, because these were the children of Israel. It came to pass that Judah, who was one of Israel's boys, this is a man, Judah. He went down from his brethren and he turned into a certain Adulamite whose name was Hira. Now, this is significant because Judah, one of the 12, was with his brethren and they traveled together. What happens when you're separated from your brothers, from your family, from the family business?
You're vulnerable. You're vulnerable.
You're vulnerable. You're exposed. You're open. You don't have the resources of the family, so the resources that you have are the resources that are available. Are you listening?
Yes.
Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite. You know where this is going. You know where this is going.
So I'm going.
You know where this is going, right? What happens when Judah, the son of Israel, now looks and sees the daughter of a Canaanite? Well, like the kids say, it's about to go.
Damn.
You don't want things to go down. You want things to go up.
Person from Canaan.
The children of Israel, as they traveled, were instructed, as you go, don't bring foreign men or women into the camp. Don't you do that.
Right.
Don't do that. Don't you marry. Don't you bring other gods into the camp. Don't you bring other people that serve other gods into the camp. What you do is you find somebody in the camp. You lonely? There's somebody available. There's resources within the camp for you to start a family. Because the basis of that family is going to be the family business. Now, if I have a family business and I get married and my wife has a family business, what's her desire?
My family's business.
Well, my family, this is what we do.
Right.
So all my life, I was raised around these concepts and these precepts. So that's what I've been taught. What I'm really good at is the business of my family.
Right,
Hmm?
right.
No. If the business of your family is different from the business of my family, then we have a house that's divided.
Yeah.
And a house that's divided against itself, you know, I'm Muslim and she's Catholic. That's not going to work. Because if we have children, I don't be trying to teach the children to pray 5 times a day. And she's going to be all about, well, it don't take all of that. And I'm gonna teach them to wash their face and their hands before they pray, and to look outside and find which way is east. And she's gonna be saying, no, that ain't the way I'm teaching my children. So now we got odds against concepts and precepts. And the children are confused because they don't know who's right or what's right. Is it getting warm in here?
Yes.
It's humid.
If you intend to build a house, you sit down and you plan. You don't just hope for a good outcome, you plan for a good outcome. And if you're planning to have children that honor you, you do something honorable so that they can be honorable children. If your family is loud and boisterous and argumentative, and my family is quiet and non-vocal, you put those two together, you're going to have an imbalance. Somebody's going to have their way. Are you listening? So, Jesus, this will preach. I can just keep preaching. Here's the thing. You ever heard about surrender?
Yeah.
Surrender may feel like losing, but surrender most often, the primary benefit of surrender is so that you won't die. Because this battle here, if it keeps raging, somebody's going to die. And if it looks as if the tide isn't going your way, and if it appears like things are like the outcome, like you're not winning, maybe you're better off surrendering. And surrendering may mean that you need to learn a different way.
Amen.
Yes.
I'm not saying that God wants slaves. God doesn't. I'm not saying that God wants idiots and mindless people. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying what God wants is people that look at life the way that man follows and directs. And they look at life the way that he directs and coaches and leads. And they make a selective choice to surrender to his way. You have a will and you got something to say. But don't boast about what you got to say after you surrender, because that means you haven't fully surrendered. Don't talk about how your family used to be and how your daddy raised you and your mama did this and your mama and daddy did, if you haven't surrendered.
Yes.
In order to win the long game, sometimes you have to surrender so that you can live. Somebody say amen.
Amen.
We'll get to some juicy stuff. Here we go. Verse number 2, Judah saw that there was a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua. And he took her. He snatched her right up. And he went in unto her. I'll talk to you after church. And she conceived. I want you to see how quickly the results of actions appear. There are consequences for every action. He went in, she conceived. How did this happen? Because you went in. She couldn't conceive without you in it. So the reason why she conceived is because you decided. I just went in because I thought she had pretty eyes. Yeah, but there's consequences.
Right.
You can't be thinking about them pretty eyes and not think about the conception. I want to preach more, but I'm trying to get this more juicy because there's more juicy than this. She conceived and she bare a son. Now, this is significant. Why were sons so significant in that age and this? We don't value sons as much today as we should, but why were sons so significant?
Because they carry your name.
Because what?
You have to be leaders.
No, because a girl can be a leader. I don't have a
They
problem.
carry
I mean,
your
like,
name.
they carry.
What'd you say?
They carry your name.
They carry a what?
Your last name.
They carry a what?
Your name.
They carry a name.
That's true.
What's significant about a name? Everything.
No.
Everything. If it weren't significant, Jacob would still be Jacob.
Right.
The country next to Palestine would be the country of Jacob if that was going to be the case. But it's not called Jacob. There was a change at some point, and that change represented that name being carried down so significantly that we now, today, after 2,000 years, have a name for a country called Israel.
Right.
It has significance today, still, because the name was carried on. How many sons did Israel have? 12. And those 12 sons had sons. And they grew into mighty nations, kingdoms, each of the 12. But guess what? Because they stayed together, each of those little nations couldn't be conquered by themselves.
Right.
Because the brothers that started those nations were together. And the uncles said to the nieces and nephews, that's your uncle. You don't fight because they're
Family.
And in life, if you lose everything and you retain family, you will have everything that you need. You ever heard of, how many stories do we know of, right now, of a relative or somebody that fell on hard times and they went down south to stay with their
Yes. Aunt, uncle.
uncle, somebody had some property, some land or some room in their house. They didn't go to the Salvation Army or some non-profit organization. They went to some place where family took care of them until they could get back on their feet. That isn't to devalue or to degrade these non-profit. They're out there because everybody doesn't have family. But if you have family, guess what they're going to do? They're going to take you in. And they may not be your mama or your dad. They may be your mama's mama. Or your mama's mama's mama. Or your mama's sister's somebody. But if they're family and they recognize you, listen, you got to go to reunions. Listen to me. You got to know who your family. I had some property in Detroit. And when you're a landlord, those properties have to be inspected every year. In the city of Detroit, they send the inspectors out that their whole job is to make your life miserable. And out of all the property I used to own in Detroit, when those inspectors would come out, they'd always find stuff. And it would always cost you like money you're not trying to spend.
Right.
So you got to fix it and then call them back out. Before you can have anybody move in, you have to have what they call a clearance. A certificate of clearance. Certificate of occupation. That's after you clear all the things that the inspectors say. Before I let you make any money or have somebody move in here, it has to have this and this has to be fixed and these wires need to be and this and that and the other and it'll be long as your arm. Sometimes the person is just nitpicky. Not like it's got to be done just because they want it done. And if they want it done and it goes onto a piece of paper, forget about it. You now have to, because it's now part of the record for the hospital, for the thing. I was going down to pay a fine for some things that was taking a while. And if it takes too long, they make you pay fines. And while I was waiting, coming out to go to lunch was a woman that I recognized. And I said, hey, cousin. She goes, hey, what you doing down here? I said, I'm paying fines, you know, this, that, and that. You got property? I said, yeah, I got just, not much, just a little bit. She said, come here. She took me back to her office. She is over all the inspectors. She's all the inspectors' boss. I'm like, one of them high gates. But because she's my cousin, she said, let me see. And fines were adjusted. And said, well, you don't need to do this. Lines were crossed, and suddenly the unreasonable became reasonable because I had family.
Right.
And I had to pay this. I now have to pay this because I have
Family.
Listen, family will save your life. Family will make sure you don't go hungry. I want to have, I need to take more time, but will you allow me to go on? Huh? Y'all with me?
It's hot.
Okay. You say?
It's hot.
Okay. All right, what time? Wow. All right. She conceived and she bare a son, and she called his name Er, right? What's his name? Let me get back to Er. And she conceived again, because he went in again. And bare a son, and she called his name Onan. And she conceived yet again, because for the third time he went in again. And isn't it interesting how every time they hook up, she has a baby. Every time, I'm talking about one time. They're not trying at having kids. She's just having kids. Every time. Don't feel so bad. She conceived yet again and bare a son, and she called his name Shelah. And he was at Chezib when she bare him. The significance there I can't go into right now. And Judah took a wife for Er, his firstborn son. Remember Er? Firstborn son? His wife's name was Tamar. You know what her last name was? Braxton. Now the Braxton had family values.
That's funny.
Listen, and the only reason why he picked Tamar because
Tony was taking
Tony went home. She was on tour. Okay, y'all later. And Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew. God don't kill people. God don't kill people. The devil kill people. Well, this time, Er was like his name, in Er. He was erroneous. He was full of himself, full of air. And because that is wickedness in the sight of the Lord, God killed him. And rather than the blessing of receiving life, God also takes life. And all of it's for cause. If you do what is right in the sight of the Lord, you will live. Precious. But if you do that which is right in the sight of yourself, you will die. Even if the Lord has to kill you himself. Nah, that's a shocking thing. That seems bad. That seems evil. But this is right in the sight of God. If you do right in the sight of God, you will live. If you do wrong in the sight of God, you will die. The Bible said God slew Er. He wasn't out there, having a card game, and there was an argument over money, and next thing you know, hands started throwing, somebody went to the car and got a gun, came back in and shot up the place, and next thing we knew, Er was dead. No. This is very, very succinct. It's very, very direct. God killed Er. Which means now Tamar ain't got no husband.
She's a widow.
What does the law say in a Hebrew family if a wife becomes a widow of a firstborn son?
His brother. If he has a brother, he takes the wife.
Oh, here's the caveat. And she has no children.
Right. He takes
The law says the second son, for the benefit of the family, takes one for the team. Actually, he gives one for the team. But so the family name can continue.
Right.
Here's the wife of a brother who has no children. She's supposed to bear children because that's the purpose of marriage. To be fruitful and to multiply. And if the job of heir is to continue the family business, and he can't continue the family business because he's dead, and he's dead because he wasn't caring about the family business, his life added no value to the family because he wasn't thinking, he wasn't acting, he wasn't working the family business. He wasn't trying to be obedient. That's family business, right? He's trying to do his own thing. Because he was trying to do his own thing, God killed him, left a widow with no children, and now it is the second son's job to make sure that that wife who has not conceived yet gives birth to a man child to carry the name. Okay. How many children did Judah have? 3.
Oh,
3. Heir,
right.
Shemai.
Onan and Shelah.
And Onan.
Onan,
Yeah.
and Shelah. Heir's dead.
Right. She was Onan. Shemai.
Who's the oldest now?
Onan.
Onan. So Judah said unto Onan, verse number 8, go in unto thy brother's wife. I know we don't practice these laws, but this is God's law. It's family law. It's family business. And there's a reason for it. It's a practical application for it. Which, we do things now so far and away different. I can't even go there right now. Judah, the father, go into thy brother's wife and marry her. She's a widow now because she ain't got no husband. Your older brother's dead. Marry her and raise up seed to thy brother. Do what he couldn't do because he is no longer alive. Onan isn't married. He's young, virile. He's of a certain age. And his daddy said, go take care of the family name. Onan knew that the seed should not be his, and it came to pass when he went in unto her, his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground.
Yow,
Okay.
yow. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
It that would have caused the seed, because we all know that if the seed had been deposited, there would have been conception.
Right.
Because in this story, everybody's getting pregnant.
Hey.
He spilled it on the ground, lest he should give seed to his brother. So what he devised in his mind was a plan that was contrary to the plan of God.
Right.
God said go right, he went left. God said go in, he pulled out. Yeah, I said it. Listen, there's children in here that have seen much worse than that.
Thanks.
Listen, I'm the man of God. There's some things that you ought to learn in church, in service. So you're not confronted with something from somebody outside on the street trying to tell you something like this is how you do it. That is not how you do it. And that's not the reasons. Onan is looking for pleasure. God is looking for purpose. And if we knew the purpose of a seed, we would not abuse it.
That's the truth.
If we knew the purpose of a seed, we wouldn't be seeking out pleasure. We'd be seeking out purpose. what we would be doing is doing what we're doing to fulfill the purpose and the plan of God. To be fruitful. And to not to get another notch on our belt. Not to conquer, oh man, I want me some of that. I'm going to get her. That's pleasure that you're seeking at. Purpose, Judah said, I want you to go to your brother's wife and marry her. And the purpose of you marrying her is so that she can bear a seed for the continuation of the family name. Onan said, okay, I'll marry, but I ain't gonna give her none of mine. Oh, I'll go through the act. I will take the pleasure, but I won't plant the seed. That is so anti what he was told. It's so disobedient to the instruction that he was given. And the spirit of Antichrist is the spirit that tells you that it's okay to do anything but what Christ teaches, what Christ's purposes, what we're supposed to walk out and live in Christ. And I know this is deep and it's tongue-in-cheek, and they're like, oh, Pastor, there's shame in it. But I'm not the one that's shamed. Who should be shamed is Onan. Let me show you. Lest he should give seed to his brother. That's his mentality. That's where his head is. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord. Wherefore, the Lord slew him also. Judah now has 2 dead sons who are dead, not because they had an accident, not because they was out in the field working, not because the sun overtook him and he had heat stroke, not because he was dehydrated while he was busy working. Those are sad stories, but allowable. These 2 boys are dead because they refuse to work the family business. They refused to obey. And Er displeased the Lord, and God killed him. And Onan displeased the Lord, and God killed him. Now Judah only has 3 boys. He doesn't have a namesake because he doesn't have grandchildren. His name is going to die when he dies. That's a problem.
Right.
That's a problem because we don't know this right now, but God has a plan. Huh? Jeremiah says, I know the plans, and it ain't Jeremiah that knows, it's God that knows, that I have for you. You don't know the plans that God has for you, but God knows the plans that he has for you. So when things look like they're randomly happening and just falling up and falling in and falling around in your life, nothing in your life is random. Because nothing in your life is coincidental. God has a plan for you. Somebody say, God has a plan.
God has a plan.
For me. Tell somebody next to you, say, God has a plan.
God has a plan
For you.
for you.
Now put your hands together and give God praise.